Hey, friend. Welcome back to Nosy AF, conversations about art, activism, and social change. I'm your host and friend, Stephanie Graham, and today on Nosy AF, I'm chatting with Lindsay Lerner. Lindsay is a community builder, photographer, creative strategist, and honestly, probably one of the most intentional people you'll ever meet. Lindsay is the founder of Field Notes from the Work in the Wild, which is a storytelling project that captures people in those in between moments. And we all know them, right? Like before the big scene, before the outcome, the quiet rituals and truths that we don't always talk about. Lindsay and we get into everything from why Lindsay says she's allergic to the status quo, which is anybody else? I mean, for real. And then also, we talk about how capitalism shapes the way we value each other and to what it really means to build community that matters. And trust me, this conversation, it sort of goes everywhere in the best way. So let's get into some theme music and then we will get to chatting with our new friend, Lindsay. Welcome to Nosy AF.
Gotta get up, tell the whole world you a winner. Vision of a star with a mission and a cause. What you doing, how you doing, what you doing, and who you are. Flex yourself, impress yourself. Check yourself, don't wreck yourself. If you know me, then you know that I be knowing what's up. Hey, Stephanie Graham is nosy as
Lindsay, welcome to Nosy AF.
Thank you for having me.
I am so happy that you are here. You are so fun and so joyful. One of the things I really want to get into with is you said that you're allergic to the status quo. And I'm wondering what's something that you realized recently that you were tolerating that had to go? Like we're all in an assessment time. Let's just see, like, this is what Lindsay said has to go.
Yeah.
This might be what I need to have go too.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing, especially the last couple of months, has just been recognizing you do have a sense of power and agency if you want to take the accountability for the work that you're doing day to day. And we could be talking about the internal work, the work, like capitalism work, what you get paid for, like all of that, I think is what's been swimming in my head. And I think for a long time, I just spent, even though I've mostly only worked for myself, there's been so many times where I've just felt that Robin Hood energy of like, okay, I have my project and I'm most stoked on my project and I'm going to make this thing work and bring it to fruition and bring it to life. But also rent is real, having a mortgage is real, having a kid is real, like all of that. And so then constantly just going and like doing these moonlighting gigs essentially, and then being like, okay, cool, like I got enough runway so I can do X, Y, or Z. And lately just really drawing that line in the sand and being like, no, this is the type of work that I want to do. These are the type of people that I would like to work with. And after having far too many shit experiences over the last, 15 plus years, now there's an understanding of, to your point, like you do not have to tolerate most things.
Yeah, that's so real. It's funny, you say 15 years. Sometimes people are like, oh, it'll take 3 to 5 years. And I'm like, that's not true.
No. And it's just different levels of, not even levels. I don't think it's ladder-esque, like the corporate realm. But I just think that it's more about the work that you're doing on yourself. And I would argue the person being way more comfortable and confident with myself and being like, oh, no.
Yeah.
No, just no. And I catch myself now, I'm like, wow, Lindsay 5 years ago totally would have just sucked it up and kept it moving and done the thing. And now, like, I'm in the middle of a contract right now, and it's supposed to last probably through the end of the year if I played my cards right. And already I'm like, my entire body is like, no, you need to.
Oh my gosh.
You need to stop doing this. And my friend,
my goodness.
Yeah, my best friend, she's a good one. Shout out to Joanne. You gotta. She really called me in and she was like, what have we learned? And I'm like, we need to listen. we need to listen. And she's like, yes. And we're like 30 days in, so we can make a faster decision instead of waiting, 30 months. I'm like, you're right. You're right.
That kind of decision gets hard, though, when you need money.
Dude,
when there's bills.
That's my biggest existential crisis on a daily basis is like, why is it that we've created the structures that we've created? And how is it that we've decided that this is how we're going to value each other and as people and worthiness and work? Like all of that is so convoluted to me.
It's overwhelming. And you're right. It's like, yeah, we're all here together. Let's all treat each other fairly and the same.
Right.
Because everybody's doing their part and it all matters. Like it all needs to be connected to each other.
Exactly. But I think that's the part that a lot of folks are out of touch with, of how this action impacts the next one, impacts the next one. And there's nobody connecting those dots. Although that's what keeps me up at night.
Me too. I feel like we should have like a styrofoam cup with a telephone line on it so you can like talk. Like, are you up?
Yes. The answer is yes. Always yes.
Because it's all like capitalism's fault, right? Sometimes I'm like, did capitalism do anything good? Because everybody always blames everything on capitalism.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because I was having this conversation yesterday, actually, with someone, and my default, I kept resorting back to we.
Yeah.
And how is this going to impact the collective? And this woman was pushing back on me pretty hard. She was like, well, that's the problem. You're just afraid to step into your independence and your identity. And you're this. And I was like, I think this is the problem. I think you named it. Of like, we need less I. I am very confident in my own abilities. I can get shit done. I'm not sweating that. What bothers me is this. This is what bothers me.
Yeah. It's like, it can't just always be like me. For example, my neighbor was just upset because he was talking about, he was going to the gym and they approached him about personal training.
Sure.
And so they were like, oh, yeah, it's like $3,500, this and that. He's like, okay, I'm not like, no, thank you. I'm fine with just doing what I'm doing, And then the trainer said to him, like, well, you just don't want to invest in yourself. And he's like, no, I don't have the money to do, like, no, I don't have the money. I don't see this as valuable enough.
Totally.
To like pay for this. What I'm doing is fine. You approached me, but it doesn't mean that I don't feel valuable. Right. He's like, oh my gosh, it was so funny at the mailbox. He's like, can you believe he said that to me? I'm not valuable. I'm very valuable.
Right.
I'm going to work, and he's
totally.
I love him. He's always like going on a rant about something with me. And so I'm just like, yeah, that was so rude.
It is rude. It is rude. I agree with that. And I think there's so much nuance to it too, because I do, on one hand, this is something I've been working on for a long time, and I can't always make it make sense in my brain. My wife is very good at it, and it's holding two things to be true at the same time. And as a very, very literal person, I'm like, how do you do this? And I think that's the nuance. I'm like, on one hand, I do 100 full body believe that the work that you do on yourself and the way that you show up in the world and the energy that you bring is what's going to make a situation, an interaction, a relationship that much better. Because if you feel grounded and calm and solid, then that's the place that you're going to move from. And that, more often than not, is a great place to be. And then simultaneously, if like you can't, I think a lot of instances in which I've seen that, it comes across in this very, to your point, capitalistic, very individual-based, come hell or high water, I'm just going to do what's best for me, and no one else matters. And I'm like, well, that doesn't make sense either.
Yeah, that's not helpful either. That's not helpful either. Well, you have this project, Field Notes. Can you tell us about it? Because I love your black and white photography work. By the way, the 35 millimeter work that you do.
Thank you.
But I know your Field Notes is more, it is photography, but it's writing and documenting. And I was hoping you could share it with us.
Yeah, I would love to. Yeah, Field Notes from the Work in the Wild is a storytelling project that captures people in the moments before they're seen. And it's all about the work before the outcome. So more of that messy middle, the quiet rituals, and the truths that people are still learning to say out loud. And that's I mean, that's the best part. It's the point of the podcast, no?
Yeah, right?
And each story that I publish combines a portrait, a one-liner that I like to think of as like their essence in a way, and a short audio reflection that helps people really feel deeply seen and understood. And the intention with that audio is, as much as the story is about that person, I also braid together like their story, things that I've learned along the way, other stories that I may have heard, a potential, whether it's like a spiritual teaching or an insight, or sometimes I go kind of religious, but religious in like very broad terms, braid that all together so that anyone who's listening can really find something that resonates with them.
Yeah, because what I really enjoy about it, that I'm not really into like the tech world, you know, so I feel like
Totally.
through your Field Notes project, and I know it has a longer title, but I feel like I get to learn about that culture because I'm never around it. But I feel like people around me always have an idea for an app. They're like, oh, that should be an app. That should be an app, you know?
Yeah, and that's what's been so cool is like my vision for this project was to be able to, because I, for the longest time, and as corny as this sounds, I'm going to say it anyway, I've always believed that diversity is what drives innovation. And I think innovation has been this big ass buzzword for a long time. To your point, it's in tech, it's in startups, it's in this, like whatever. At the end of the day, like you are not going to get anything that is actually innovative if you keep doing the same shit different day. And it comes from different people, different perspectives, ages, races, cultures, ethnicities, gender, sexual orientations, you name it. And because I've always been more of a chameleon since I was a little kid, all the way through high school, like I never had a group of friends. It was like, I'm going to sit at this lunch table and that lunch table and this lunch table and whatnot. And I think a lot of times that felt isolating. But now, especially through this project, it's been so cool. I'm like, some days I go into a music studio and some days I'm in some corner office and some days I'm running around Brooklyn chasing people on city bikes. It's like, you never know. Or in artist studios. Like I was with this oil painter a couple weeks ago and I was like, wait, that's how you do that? Like, I had no idea. I was with a stylist last week, and just the way that she spoke about like clothing and what it does for her and why, I was like, wow, like that is far out. Tell me everything.
Yes. I love that. I love that. I feel like such relationship with that, with what I'm doing here, because I feel like it's always so varied, different creatives, different perspectives.
Exactly.
And I'm like that too. Like I grew up the same way, having different friends from like all the groups. I'm like at the goth kid party on Saturday with like the popular girls, with the like girls that's being picked on. Like I like knew everybody, you know?
Yeah.
And I feel like as an adult, that sort of translates to like now you know everybody too, and you can always like put people together. Just build your network up. But it can be isolating. I do get that.
Yeah, there's a fine line. I would love at some point, I want to do some sort of in-person installation of some sort, which is I've never done anything like that. But since a lot of these folks that I've been photographing recently are all New York based, I feel like that would be really cool to like do some sort of pop-up and have all of these people in the same room. And that's something like when I'm at that level of having just wild fuck you money, that is, I just want to send all these people that I know plane tickets, just everyone that I used to have on like my podcast, all these different projects, and just have them in the same room. And I'm like, what would happen?
Yes.
It would be
when
so
they're all
cool.
together.
Yes.
Yeah.
For my birthday a couple years ago, this was like post-pandemic, I was just missing everyone, and I was like, I'm going to use my birthday as an excuse. And I got my wife, a couple of like my very dear friends, my parents, and a couple of their friends that I'm very close with, and I was like, we're going to Costa Rica. And they were like, what? I was like, it's my birthday, please. And they were like, oh, like, okay. And they're definitely like, they're not like adventure Costa Rica people necessarily. But I was like, get in the van. Especially, I went into like tour manager mode. I was like, just just please, just come with me. And so they did. And it was amazing because it was like all these people that I love so much and so deeply, and they all bring out different sides of me. What I did not clock was that they all bring out different sides of me and how wildly exhausting that was.
Yeah.
And it was
Oopsie.
like, my mom's calling me in the living room and my friend wants to go, down to the beach and my wife wants something else. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is a terrible idea.
You're like, do y'all see the itinerary I put together? Follow that, please.
Exactly. That's why I made it, damn it.
Oh my gosh.
But yes,
that. Okay, so one thing I want to bring up, so like since you have like all these like different friends and stuff like that as we're talking, you talk about like community. I know that's really big. Also, another big word. Everybody's all about community these days.
Ooh.
Innovative communities, right?
Yes. That's all you need is to be innovative and have a community. You'll have a multi-gazillion-dollar company. You will exit. You will be set for life. Yes.
Yes. So you talk about community that actually matters. And so I'm curious, like, what does that look like in practice when nobody's watching?
Right. But that's it. Like, it is a practice. And I think that's the problem, is so many, especially brands these days, everything is a community. And I'm like, there is a very big difference, I would argue, between a community and an audience. And there's also a difference between a community and fans, especially having a music background. That's something that I've seen more often than not, for better or worse, is artists misconstruing their fan base as their community.
And I'm like, could you break down like the difference?
Yeah. I think how I see it is that when you have an audience, that's one to many. So if insert whatever brand you're a fan of sells a thing to you, great. You're in their audience. That's cool. You're not like going to bat for this brand. It doesn't matter. You just bought their shit and you're happy with their product and you keep it moving. Maybe you get an email from them. That's fine.
Yeah.
Then I think the next layer of that is having fans. And those are people who tell people, whether it's about a musician or a product or a service or what have you, those are people who do actually care. But still, that relationship, I would argue, is still one way. And more importantly, the nuance is that there might be people that are fans, especially in music. Like I worked in hip hop and K-pop, like fan bases, hardcore fan bases.
Yeah.
And I would argue the difference between just having an audience and then the next level of having a fan would be fans typically could talk to each other about that connection point of that artist, for example, or even of that brand. So that's like audience, then fan, and then community is when there's actual relationship and all of the dots start to connect and there's more meaning and there's a two-way conversation rather than one way. That's how I conceptualize it.
I see. So like if I had a listener email me and we go back and forth, would that person be my community?
If you wanted to structure it in that way.
Fan.
That might be a fan still because it's more transactional. It's more like, what is it that you have in common? Is there it's like, I think Seth Godin is the one who says it. It's like, people like us do things like this. And so that's more from a marketing lens, given the work that he's done. But I think there needs to be a relation, like an actual relationship that is a two-way street, not just one way.
Okay. Interesting. Cool. Yeah, it's like I'm thinking of Beyonce. Like Beyonce's Beehive, those would be those are fans. They're
fans.
not her community.
Right. Like so many people, so many, especially artists, they're on Discord, they're on whatever tools that they're on. And maybe not Beyonce, but I know some musicians who are active on their Discord and they are chatting with people. And often like that makes fans feel great. Of course. You're not hanging out with them. You are not going to go and grab a coffee or a meal or what have you. You know what I mean? Like I think that's the nuance. And I spent the last a little over 2 years working with the Generalist World community. Okay. And that was very much like we grew that community to almost 700 people. But we knew, like, and we're in relationship with a lot of these people. But I think that's the part of the frustration and part of the struggle right now is the commodification of community. And it's community as a service. So
Yeah.
there's blurred lines. It's like I loved and cared about all of those people. Was it because I was getting paid to do so? Was it because they were paying me? Was it because I actually cared? Like there's so
Yeah.
much nuance to it. And I think just biologically, I think the number, if I remember correctly, is like as humans, we're only going to remember like 1,500 names. Like that's
Okay,
it.
that makes sense.
And then your brain taps out. And
Yeah.
relationally, you're built, I mean, back, thousands, hundreds of thousands of years ago, it's like you had 150 relationships. And that was how you moved through the world, more from an anthropological standpoint. And I think like that you got to think about that too.
Yeah.
It's like
So
Beyonce's Beehive probably millions and millions and millions of people.
I know, right? She was just somebody who I'm like, okay, everybody would know who that is because, yeah. So I want to go back for the listener.
Sure.
Seth Godin is like, just to tell you guys, is like this marketer guy.
Yeah.
That a lot of marketers, folks who might work for brands, startups, maybe product-based businesses, not necessarily like artists, activists, might not turn to Seth Godin.
Totally.
But Seth Godin is somebody who people look to as a person of like, how should we see others? How should we market to others? How should we think about marketing?
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Seth's quote is people like us do things like this. And that's very, very, I think it taps into people's like real primal sense of being.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah.
it's very clicky and it's very like, you can't sit with us vibes.
Yes.
And that's the thing. And you see that, I mean, especially being in New York City, it's everything. It's from run clubs to coffee clubs to startups to tech bro this to founders that to artists to photographers, what have you. It's very much we do it this way and this is why you're going to be accepted here.
Yeah.
Versus
I love that.
the nuance. Yeah.
I love that. So like, who are your people and like, where did you find your people?
I think that's, man, that's such a nuanced question or something that I grapple with is like, I don't, there are one-to-one relationships that feed me and keep me going. And there is not and has not been one group ever where I've really been able to exhale.
Yeah.
And I think I've been searching for that. And I think with Field Notes, this is really the first time where I'm like, no, this I like. Because I don't want to hang out with just like photographers or people who identify deeply as like photographers or people who identify deeply as storytellers or founders or artists. To me, it's that combination of the different things that really makes a difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like being with everybody. But like, do you go out a lot or is it like online and then you try to get like Zoom calls?
A lot of the people that I've worked with, especially over the last couple of years, being in the community space, I've connected with folks, especially the Generalist World team. They're international. So they're...
Can you explain the Generalist World just for folks who might not know?
Totally.
This is a really cool project, guys.
Yeah. Generalist World is a community for folks that have had nonlinear careers. So other fellow squiggly path folks, whether you've switched industries or you've job hopped, and where you're looking at your career less like a ladder and more like a flywheel. So it's like, how is this project that I'm working on potentially going to, and it's not always intentional, but having the vision of how could this then open a door for that and really following more of your intuition and working with things that are in alignment rather than simply chasing a paycheck for most folks who are in the community.
Yeah. And I mention it because I know like artists, might always like think of, what's something else I can do? Or even for myself with the film world, acting as crazy as it is, I'm like, oh my gosh, do I need to pivot out of this? And like, I checked out Generalist World just to sort of see like, what else could it be if it is to be something,
Totally. And I think that's the thing, just in terms of like work, that's another existential spirally. Totally. But it's been really cool with the Generalist World community to be able to see how many different career paths are out there. And there's another community as well, the Outlier Project, that's full of folks who do really just incredible work. Everything from professional football players through CEOs, through artists, photographers, like you name it, they're in there. And I think it's just important to be able to have more potential examples and or inspiration for those moments when you're feeling low, when you're feeling down, when you're looking around being like, am I actually losing it? Is this a me problem?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, through all of that, I met so many people everywhere. And so most of my close friends are 6, 8, 18-hour time zones away,
Oh my
unfortunately.
God. That's tough. 18 hours.
Yeah, like,
Oh my goodness.
yeah,
I think I struggle with like my friends on like Pacific timeline. I'm like, oh
yeah.
my gosh.
No,
Yeah.
totally. And so it just makes the time, the physical time that we get together even more important. Like one of my dearest friends, Nikita, was here visiting from London a couple of weeks ago. And it just felt so nice to be with someone who knows and understands me so well and share
Yeah.
physical space. It was like, oh, like I can
And
be
you can
weird in person.
exhale.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
You've like been all over and you've even like you've like done the whole van life thing.
Yeah, and I think that was the other thing too is like because I was a tour manager for more than 10 years, and if the right act came along, could be convinced to do it again. But I think because of that, like I did that for 10 years, and so I was doing laps around the States, and then every once in a while could go to Europe or the UK, and so I got to meet people from everywhere. So when I did have my van, it was very funny. I felt like I did van life wrong in some ways because most people were like out in the woods and I was like parked in front of my friend's house in Chicago, like parked on the street. I'm like, here we are.
Well, that's nice to know that van life can be however you want it, right? Because
Yeah.
when people mention that to me and you see people on Instagram, they're like in the middle of a desert somewhere. And I'm like, does somebody know where you are?
Yeah, I mean, I did do some of that, but a lot of it was like, it was about the people. And so being able, and that's what honestly gave me the confidence to do it as well. Like I was by myself. So a lot of people looked at me, there was some words exchanged, some looks exchanged. They're like, and I'm like, in my head, my justification at the time was like, the worst case scenario is that no matter where, almost any state across the entire United States, I know somebody who would drive very quickly and be to me within an hour.
That's nice.
You know? Like,
Yeah.
that's not too bad.
No, that's a great network.
So
Those are great friends.
Yeah, that's what made me feel good. And that's what you develop. And I know, if I remember correctly, you've obviously worked in service-based industries throughout your career, and like that's what develops in the touring production realm is like people who will go to bat for you. It's like,
Yeah, no
you've seen
doubt.
some shit together.
What would you think would be like a problem you solved when you were on the road that made you feel like a total badass?
Well,
That you feel comfortable
a couple
sharing?
come to mind. But the reason why I loved touring for so long, which I think by the end, the last time I was on the road was in 2023. And I think
Okay.
perhaps like that's when therapy really started to kick in and be like, maybe we liked touring because we just got to control everything. Maybe. I'm like, I think we nailed that one. But the first tour that I did was actually Warped Tour. I don't know if you ever went to Warped Tour.
No, who was on Warped Tour?
Warped Tour ran, for 25 years. And it started out as a punk rock, very indie scene. It was sponsored by Vans. It was Vans Warped Tour.
Oh, cool. Yeah, no, I definitely didn't go that.
And so for the first probably 10, 15 years, it was strictly like punk and hardcore and metal and like a lot, just not my scene either. And then they attempted and started to diversify. And I was on the road with 2 hip hop acts. That it was very funny because you would have like screaming like emo bands, and then you would have just the opposite.
Yeah. Like
Which is a
B2K
very
or something.
Right. It was a very funny experience. But I was on that tour just as an extra set of hands. I was working with this artist. He was like, hey, I need help finding a tour bus. And this was one of my first gigs in music. And I was like,
Wow.
yeah, I can do that. I don't know how the hell to find a tour bus. I'm on Google, tour bus, like what? Like, where do you find this shit? Then I'm all of a sudden in the depths of Facebook groups of bus drivers, which are mostly, admittedly, very kind of creepy old men. And I'm like,
Wow.
this is not good. I'm on the phone with these people. Because to be a bus driver, you essentially have to be like a complete night owl. You sleep all day, you drive all night. Like, that's your life. That's what you do. So it takes a certain type of person to be able to do that.
Yeah,
Anyway,
that's for sure.
we found the bus, we found the driver, and this artist I was with was like, oh, well, we have an extra bunk. Like, why don't you just come? It'd be a lot easier to do our work together. And I was like 19, 20. I was like, oh, yeah, okay. Like, my fingers typed yes before I could even, like, process it. I was like,
wow.
I'm going. And, yeah. And so that was the first tour that I did. And then when we were on the road, the tour manager that we had got themselves fired for a plethora of reasons. And they were like, well, you're here. You're organized. And I was like, okay, yeah. So it is me. There was one other woman on the road and 10 grown men. And I'm the tour manager now. And
you're the boss, yep.
Okay. And so that was almost 3 months. That was like 20,000 miles. It was a unhinged tour. And after that, I was like, oh, if I can do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm so good. I'm so good.
I love it. I love it. And they listened, I bet, and just like, you know the plan, and we're going to check in with you. We're going to go where you tell us to be.
Exactly. Oh,
I
man.
love that.
Yeah.
Okay,
100%.
that's really, really good.
Yeah.
That's really good. I could see why you could be like, it's like, okay, glad that was a moment, but if somebody was to call, you might be like, okay, who's it for?
Yeah, well, that was the thing. You get to have like more and more discernment as you go. Because in the beginning, I just said yes. And then all of a sudden, it's like me driving a van for 12 hours to get to a show.
Gosh.
You know, you got to make it happen versus other tours. You know, as you progress in the industry, you get to be picky a little bit and you get to have a tour bus, you get to have a driver, you get to have an assistant. That was one of my favorites. Having an assistant meant I could go to sleep and then they got to make sure everyone was on the bus at 3 a.m. I was like,
yep.
I'm
not
built
like,
for the music industry.
I got this.
Exactly.
Like, I got this.
Oh, he was thrilled. He actually texted me yesterday. He was amazing.
I love that. That's thanks for sharing that. That's really, really fun. Oh my gosh. So wait. Okay, so back to field notes from the work in the wild.
Yeah.
You said like one of the things that you get to do is like see people in their element. And I'm just curious, like, do you have any advice for like when you might know you've stepped into your element? You know, like for when someone, or like maybe even when you see the person where you're like, oh yeah, they're like, this is them. They're doing their thing, you know?
Totally. It's when you forget that anyone else is there. And it happens like the click moment, and maybe this is my bias, but I've seen the click moment happen sooner for the artists that I've gotten to share space with. Like, like one of my buddies is a music producer. And like watching him, just like there's a very distinct before and after of like you're chatting with me and you are in another realm, and that's awesome. And so being able to witness that, I think, is really, really powerful. And it's also too, I think it's really funny because the way that I do it is we'll sit down for anywhere between an hour and a half, and we'll do an interview. And as we're chatting, I'm typically taking photos, which for the first like 15, 20 minutes, it makes people very uncomfortable.
I would think so.
Every time. Because they're yapping, they're chatting, and then they're like, but should I smile? Should I look at you? Should I? And then after we do it, they forget that I'm there. And that, like, 9 times out of 10 has been where some of the best photos have come from, because I am very intentional about the questions that I ask and what we're talking about and why we're talking about and the way that we're moving through space together. And that's where I think that one of the unlocks is. It's because they get so excited and so lost. Like, they could talk to a wall. I don't even need to be there. They're just so stoked on the thing that they're talking about. And I'm like, yeah, like, keep it coming. And it's not even typically, like, I know it's going to go a different direction. They come in, they're like, I'm going to talk about my company. And I'm like, this has nothing to do with your company. Yeah. And then all of a sudden they're like, the one guy I was with this week, he really wanted to make it about his company. And so he's bringing it back to the company. And then all of a sudden we started talking about running and racing and triathlons. And we're to like his real why, and his entire demeanor just shifted. And I was like, cool. Like, tell me more about that.
Yeah.
And then once he started talking about that, then it made so much more sense as to why he likes to do the things that he does.
I love that. And it feels like almost like a reality show. Like they get to have this person documenting them for the day. And then like reality show stars, they'll say like after a while, you forget that those producers and camera people are there.
Totally. And it's fun because it's so much more, it's an experience. And that's what I want people to have. And I want them to exhale as well. And that's something that I do. And I don't know if you do this with folks in portraits as well, because I think there's a certain visual they have in mind of like, this is the headshot that I want. And this is how I want to look. And this is how I want to be perceived. And I'm like, we don't need that. And so we do like, the more and more that I've gotten comfortable with breathing and slowing down and holding eye contact and like really being in it, I'm like, like on Tuesday, there's one woman, she was very stressed. And she was like, we were in very close proximity, but I had a 35 millimeter on. So like it wasn't, but she thought that I was like basically taking photos up her nose. And I was like, don't worry. I put my camera down and I like took her hands and I was like, we're going to take a deep breath. And she was like, we're what? And I was like, we're going to do this. And it took like 5 deep breaths. But eventually she was like, okay. Yeah. And I was like, great, you're here now. Now we can take a photo of you, not whoever you thought that was.
And did she feel better?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. And she was like, oh, those you captured the magic. The photo came out great. I was like, there is a method. There is a method to the madness. I haven't always been able to articulate it, but there is.
And that even brings me to like, you host these scheming sessions with folks, which I love that name. Yeah. That is such a good name. It's like, oh yeah, I want to scheme.
Yeah. I love scheming sessions.
Yeah, and so it makes me think that like you probably are with folks who, and even yourself has been like in like, I want to say reinvention, but maybe not necessarily reinvention, just like a different, just riding the wave, you know? And I'm just curious, like, what does stability look like with that? Like while you're, because like even when people are trying to do more, is the like, do you have an answer for that? Do you know?
Yeah.
Or do you talk to your clients about that?
Yeah, we spend a lot of time talking about that. And something that became more and more popular over the last couple of years has been this idea of a portfolio career. And so that's something that's like, and it's funny because it's a vernacular change. It has nothing to do with the actual shit that you do. And it like, I just think it's amusing because it's like, you could be a freelancer, you could be a solopreneur, you could be a portfolio careerist, you could be an octopus person, you could be a generalist, you could like a multi-hyphenate, a multi-potentialite. I'm like,
snobby name to say,
right?
I have a portfolio career. Like what?
Right. Well, it's stupid. It cracks me up.
Yeah.
And I've got good pals that I think are amazing humans that I have worked with over the last couple of years who have made hundreds of thousands of dollars off of portfolio career coaching. And to your point, it's helping people navigate the instability and the ups and the downs. And that's where I'd argue, I'm like, most of that comes from more of that inner work. And that to me is what Field Notes is about. Like, that's so cool that you can be a flashy musician and a music producer and an oil painter and a tech founder, But what is, like, who is that person? Who did you need to become to be able to do that? And to do it in a way where you're not completely neurotic and losing it.
Yeah. And what I sort of like, too, with this whole, like, portfolio career thing is that it's sort of dispelling this idea that, you know, if, for example, if you're not an artist full time, you're a failure. Like, that's not true. Like, because you'll see people that they might be an artist and they might go in Uber or they might go and work at the accounting firm or at the dance studio. Like,
100%.
anything.
100%. Yeah. And I think that's always, for me, I've always been in between worlds and at that intersection of art and business. And I would argue, in a lot of ways, art is a business and business is an art when executed really well. And when you have a mastery of it, I think that it can be done really, really beautifully. I think the issue is there's like so much that gets caught, I would argue, in the identity of it. And to your point, it's like, well, if I'm an artist, then I cannot drive for Uber and I can't be an accountant and I can't and I can't and I can't and I can't. And it's like you have permission to be more than one thing. And I think
Right.
portfolio career has become a safe way for people who have been in corporate to start to slowly, like that like Homer Simpson like gif where he like backs into the bushes.
Yes.
Like that's what it feels like. They're like, oh, so I don't need to be in this like stuffy office every day from 9 to 5. I can do these other things. And I think that's what's been really interesting to see. And I like you have been doing freelancing, whatever the hell you want to call it,
Yeah.
for a long time, and have been
Right.
getting side eye for a long time.
Yeah,
And
you're
now,
like, we've been a portfolio career. What are you
right?
talking about?
I'm like, yeah, like this is what we've been doing. And so it's nice. And I like the fact that I can say that I'm working on projects X, Y, and Z and not deal with bullshit anymore. That's lovely.
Yeah. But like I really love scheming session though, because I feel like it just like I always like gravitate towards like gangsters and like underground stuff anyway. So I feel like let's just sort of get a plan. And there's that whole like phrase to it, like moving in silence, It's like don't tell people your plan. Like there's that whole crew that likes to like
Sure.
build it out loud. Other people are like, no, keep it to yourself, keep it to the
Yeah.
chest. And so that's what I sort of like about that is like somebody can connect with you and be like on the underground, like figuring out what's next,
Yeah. And I think that's the scheming sessions. I offered those at the beginning of the year. It was like, hey, if you want to work with me for a
Yeah.
year, pay me $3,000. You can call
Yeah.
me as many times as you want. Let's see what happens. And there was only
Yeah.
a handful of people that took me up on the offer, which was good because I
Yeah.
wouldn't have enough time.
Right. Like
was
30
a little-
people sign up.
Well, or overly ambitious. But the couple of folks that did sign up, it's great because we get to track that progress over time. And I think
Yeah.
the biggest thing is just being in the headspace of being able to be experimental. So I'm not telling you, and they're not telling me, hey, I'm going to launch this company and build this app, and I'm going to quit my job, and I'm going to get this new job, and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Let's dial it back. What is the
Yeah.
smallest executable thing that you can do today that's going to get you, even if it's a centimeter closer to the thing that you want to do? Is it sending a text, making a phone call, sending an email?
Yeah.
Is it talking to your partner? Like, what is that like pressure release valve that's going to make
Right.
you feel better so then you can keep going?
Yeah, and being available like with somebody over and over again like that, that's really, really helpful. Like
Totally.
because you really have like a thought partner to
Yeah,
be with for that.
totally. And that's been my favorite part. And that was what was missing, I think, from quote unquote just. And I don't say that to minimize anything that I'm about to say. But I did not want to just do photography. I didn't want to just write people's LinkedIn bios. I didn't want to just write people's one-liners. I didn't want to just do scheming sessions. And now with Field Notes, it has been curated and created as a process so that we
Right.
do this whole thing together. And then afterwards, we have one, depending on how we book out, we have one, if not two, if not three integration calls. Because it's so
Yeah.
much more than just these photos. It's so much more than this headshot. Like a headshot
Yeah.
to me is a mirror. I'm like, you could take a take a selfie and with AI have honestly a pretty good looking headshot at this point.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
hate to
really.
say it, but you could. What
Yeah.
I want is to more so, I'll be a mirror for you, but let's turn that mirror into a window. I'll sit next to you and let's figure out like where are we going? What are we doing?
Right.
And how
right.
can we take these photos of showing you in your element, of where you're at in your happy place, and this
Yeah.
language and all this information that you gave me that I'm giving back to you in a new way. I've had like these grown men. I love this man. He texted me yesterday. He was like, I'm not crying, you're crying. I was like, that was the point. And like he's a phenomenal business coach who has been doing this for hundreds and hundreds of people. And the
Yeah.
fact that like I can say something to him that he hasn't thought about, like how cool is that?
Right. Right. That's really thoughtful. Yeah, and it does like show that Field Notes is such a bigger project than just like a newsletter where you could learn
Mm.
about these people.
Totally.
Yeah, I love that.
Mm.
Well, as we wind down, I have some like fun questions that I wanted to ask you.
Okay. Let's do it.
And okay, if your creative process were a snack table, what would be on it?
Ooh, that is a fun one.
Yeah.
Snack table. Mm. Mm-mm-mm. For some reason, coconut water is coming up. It's
Okay.
like practical, like it's a necessity, but also is very hydrating and nourishing. Like you need that to keep going. And chocolate. I mean, what else do you need?
That sounds good.
Right?
Yeah.
Like dark chocolate with some sea salt.
Yes.
Mm.
That sounds good. You take that, sit down, and enjoy.
Exactly. That's it.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so like my other question then, if you could plan a 3-day creative retreat, no rules, where is it, what's happening, and who's there?
Oh, that's such a good one. That's
Yeah.
such a good one. My logistics brain is already going. I'm like, but how do we do this? We're
It could
sending
be
out
anywhere.
these invites right
Yeah.
now. Yeah, I'd probably say somewhere in like Central and or South America
Okay.
for sure. I lived in Chile for a bit. That's always like calling me back, and or Costa Rica for sure. Just somewhere where like the people are so just sweet and
Yeah.
kind. And I like being somewhere like I can speak Spanish relatively well, but I like being somewhere where I can't intake all of the information all the time. So
Yeah.
that would be helpful. And I would invite the most like eclectic and like wildly diverse group of people that you could
Okay.
imagine. Like very
Yeah.
intentionally, but all of them would have a shared set of similar values in terms of being open and being kind, obviously, and
Yeah.
being willing to see things from a different perspective, so that we don't need to get into any issues along the way. And I would bring a friend who is a really epic facilitator. It's always like really helpful to have that outside perspective to like keep bringing you back and bringing you back.
Yeah, and the open-mindedness helps too for if somebody is like off track, like nobody's going to attack anybody or like, look, I know where you're coming from. Like, let's talk like this or whatever.
Exactly. Exactly. And setting like the container for it and the parameters. Because I think that's the thing is like when you leave it, it's great to just like be out there and like flowing and hoping for the best. But also it's great to ground people in a shared sense of purpose and or wonder.
Yeah, for sure. In my fellowship, we're always like, because everybody's from all different backgrounds, we're always like, look, when we speak, we know that the person isn't meaning to harm us in the way that they talk, you know? Yeah.
100%. 100%.
Okay, and then my last question is, what's something silly or low stakes that's brought you big joy lately?
My dog.
Oh.
Come here. What's the matter? Say hi to Steph. I think it's mostly it's very specific. Like, yes, it's my dog, but it's the fact that he does this. Like, he likes to be held like a child.
What a sweetheart.
And it's so amusing to me. And anytime that I'm sad, whether he's sleeping or not, because I'm kind of a jerk, I just go over and I scoop him up and I'm like, this is what we need to do.
He's always down. He's always down. Lindsay has her dog in the camera, which he is beautiful. Oh my gosh. Well, Lindsay, is there anything else you want to touch on before we call our conversation complete?
I mean, we've covered it all. I do think that it's funny that we started talking about the status quo because I actually, and I don't know if I told you this, but the original podcast that I had, the first podcast that I attempted was called Cost of the Status Quo.
Oh my goodness.
And so
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was all about like why people do what they do, how they do it, which is very much like has been clearly a common thread. And I think that has always been in the back of my mind, which is what now Field Notes, I would argue, is. And we did it was too much. I don't like being told I'm too much. I don't like telling other people they're too much.
I know that's right.
But this admittedly was a bit too much. We did a tour for Cost of the Status Quo, and it was called the Anti-Networking Tour for people and projects you give a shit about.
Okay.
Which conceptually was lovely.
Yeah.
Then, in execution, the idea was that if you combined movement, meaningful conversation, and music, I mean, what else do you need to have an amazing event, right?
I know. Our coconut water and chocolate's there,
That's
so we're
what
good.
I'm saying. Except when you try to do 7 cities in 7 days.
You're like, look, I could drive a tour bus. You were really putting your
I
skill
did.
set
I
there.
did. 7 cities, 7 days. In every single different city, we had a different movement practitioner, whether it was a yoga instructor or some sort of movement specialist, a dance instructor. And so they led movement for the first 10, 15 minutes. And then I facilitated a conversation. And then we had a live musician at the end of every night. And again, conceptually, this was a really epic and fantastic idea. In reality, people were so confused. They were like, but do I wear yoga pants? Or is this casual? Can I come from work? There were so many questions. And so ultimately, we ended up with, anywhere between 25 to 50 people in each city, which was amazing.
Yes.
But it was very interesting to see. We started in Chicago and worked our way back to the East Coast. And it was very fascinating to hear everyone's different perspectives and views and how those all mesh together. And it was great just to have that shared belief that there is an issue with the status quo.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I'm sure all those folks, they really enjoyed that you put that together for them. So.
What a time. What a time.
Yeah, definitely. What a time. Also, I'm like, was your body super sore when you got home?
I think it's perpetually just sore.
Yeah.
But no, other than that, man, that's why I appreciate talking to you, because you get to have a wide-ranging conversation. And I think that shared sense of values and being rooted in that, headspace of doing no harm, I think is so beautiful and so important across the board.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Talking with Lindsay reminded me that Field Notes isn't really just a project. It feels like it's more like an experience. It feels experimental, therapeutic, almost like a life coaching session in the best way. Like it's transformative work that makes you reflect on how we each define community, creativity, and care. And then you get these amazing photos as well. I left this conversation feeling inspired to slow down and pay attention to all the whole messy middle of that's going on, and stay curious, to continue to be curious, because that's really where all the good stuff lives. And I really just appreciated bouncing around with Lindsay with all of these different ideas. And I very, very much appreciate you for going along the ride with me. And I would love, 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 love to know how you are defining community, creativity, and care, especially right now. Thank you so much for listening to Nosy AF today. And yeah, I really, really hope to hear from you because, it's always something to think about and wrestle with all the time around here. So yeah, thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you next time. This has been another episode of Nosy AF. I'm your host, Stephanie Graham. What did you think about today's conversation? I would love to hear your thoughts. Head over to the Nosy AF website for all the show notes related to this episode. You can also find me on Instagram at Stephanie Graham. What would you know? Or online at missgraham.com, where you can sign up for my newsletter where I share exclusive updates about my studio practice as well as this podcast. Until next time, y'all, stay curious and take care. Bye.